update. This is a Q3 2021 quarterly update. Today's date is July 15th, 2021. And it's important to point out the date that it is because there is an actual big change happening today in the QuickBooks world. And it's really important to let everybody know about that. The slides, I'm going to copy and paste that link into the chat box. So if you go into the chat box in Zoom, if you're watching Zoom, if you're watching this in YouTube, it will be in the description section. I have copy and pasted a link in there so you can access the slides if you want to print them or follow along, add notes or whatever. Okay. All right. So this is the advanced webinar on QuickBooks Online Update Q3 2021 dated July 15th, 2021. This webinar will be roughly an hour. I'll try to keep it under an hour. And we'll spend about 5 minutes talking about the upcoming like free and paid webinar and programs and stuff that I create, stuff that you can access, some free, some paid. We'll talk about that briefly, 5 minutes. Then we'll spend about 10 minutes discussing QBO price changes. If anybody wants to ask a question via the chat or the Q&A section for those attending live via Zoom, I will try to answer those questions as far as I can. You know, some of these pricing questions are a little bit complex to answer, but I will discuss them. Then we'll move on to QBO core updates. These are updates that are across the board, all versions of QuickBooks Online, whether you have Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, or Advanced. We'll spend about 20-25 minutes on that. And then we'll talk about QBO Advanced updates, things that are only available in QBO Advanced. We have a recurrent task and some updates, important updates to the custom report builder, which to me is one of the best things that QBO Advanced has at the moment. Okay, so let's jump right in. So these upcoming quarterly QBO webinars that I make are free. They're available to watch via Zoom live, and then I'm going to post them into YouTube at some point. The next one will be in October. I'll be doing the Q4 update in October. I'll try to compile all the things that change in the next 3 months and do them in the October webinar. And then I'll do one in January of 2022, where I'll kind of do a recap of all the features that were added in 2021 and then anything new coming in 2022. So those are the free quarterly QuickBooks Online updates that are coming up. If you're watching this live via Zoom already, you are subscribed to that recurring webinar. If you're not, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll have a link to that as well. All right. Couple of things I want to announce and continue to announce. Divi sponsored my paid bank feeds and bank reconciliation course. I did a 4-hour masterclass on bank feeds, downloading transactions, classification, transfers, matching, reconciliation discrepancies, managing PayPal. This is a course that I have for sale in my Teachable portal for $200. And Divi decided to sponsor for my colleagues, my fellow accountants and YouTube followers. They decided to sponsor 1,000 of those subscriptions for free. And we already sold, quote unquote, about 600 of them. You just use the coupon code DIVI. The link is on the slides and you'll be able to access that course. That's a course that's going to go back on sale for $200 after the coupons are done for. So Divi is paying me for everybody that signs up, and in exchange, they will have your contact information and they will tell you about their product. They promise they're not going to pester you, but they will have your email. They will send you at least one email welcoming you to the course and with some information about Divi. Check it out. I'll stand behind saying it is the most comprehensive and best QuickBooks Online course focused around banking, bank feeds, banking, classifications, and that sort of thing. So make sure to use the link that's on the slides, and I put it in the chat box as well, and use the coupon DIVI so it comes out for free. There's about 400 people in this webinar, so if all you signed up, it will be free for everybody. All right, so about paid webinars, I have 2 upcoming paid webinars, which is episode 5 and episode 6 of the QBO contractor series, construction series. The 2 episodes that are left is August and September. I have paid speakers that are experts in the subject matter. One is an expert in Builder Trend, another one in Notify. I'm bringing them in and we're preparing those materials for the live webinar, which will also be available. Once we go live, it will be recorded and you will have access for up to 12 months of that recording. The link is on the description for that. So you can access that. That's $200. You'll have access to the first 4 that I did, which is 100% QBO and some QBO Advanced. And then the last 2 episodes is Builder Trend and Notify. So the $200 give you access to all 4 episodes, 4 that have been already recorded till this date, and the 2 that are coming up in August and September. So their link is in the slides. Make sure you download the slides and you can click on the link as well. Again, for the people that are in Zoom, I'll copy and paste that link into Zoom as well. So we talked about 3 things: the free webinars that you're attending live, the QBO updates. We talked about the free QuickBooks online banking course, which is 400 coupons left as of today. Use the coupon code DIVI when you're about to purchase, so it comes out for free. And the construction series, which you will have access for 12 months, all 6 episodes, including the 2 that are coming up for Builder Trend and Notify. The last course that is in development, I'm still working on it based on demand. What people have asked me the most is, can you teach me how to give advisory, how to spot advisory opportunities, how to sell advisory services, how to provide advice to your clients. This goes beyond analyzing financial statements, although analyzing financial statements is part of it. But we will discuss a lot about bringing the clients in, pricing the services and offering that. I will have this available around October, and it will be announced via YouTube and Facebook. And if you follow me in any other way, you will see me discussing this and the price and the scope and everything. And this is going to be a 3-week paid workshop for advisory. So a 3-week paid advisory workshop for you guys. And if you want to know about this, like you want me to add you to a list to let you know as soon as that's ready, just email me. My email is on the screen. So we're gonna get started with QBO price discount changes. So if you have anyone go into QuickBooks.com, intuit.com/QuickBooks, whatever the direct link to buy QuickBooks, you will see that the prices of QuickBooks Online have officially changed. The Essentials went up from $40 to $50. Plus went up from $70 to $80, and Advanced went up from $150 to $180. Now, QuickBooks says that they will they have added tons of new features and tons of value to justify the pricing. I'm going to respectfully disagree that there has been enough to justify a direct price, at least in the last couple of months. So we are going to go over the last couple of months worth of updates, and I'll let you be the judge what you think about that. But if you do take into account the last time they did a price change, which is roughly, I believe, 2 or 3 years, yes, I would say that definitely in the last 2 to 3 years, there's been tons of new innovation and add-ons and improvements to the program. I have noticed a significant increase in, I would say, a significant increase in performance of QuickBooks Online overall. Okay, direct, just faster loading time for each of the pages, and that kind of maybe justifies for some of the value. But again, you kind of have to look at the actual features. Now, there's an addition to the price changes. There's a couple of really important things. If you have a wholesale account, so if you're an accountant and you have a client that you pay, you the accountant, you pay for their subscription, and you are paying 50% of whatever the retail price is, you will not see that price range until September. So for all new accounts created from 7/15 and on, all the new price changes will be reflected. For existing accounts, that are in wholesale, the price changes will show up in September. For existing accounts, for regular clients that pay on their own, they're going to see the price change starting in August. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. New accounts from July 15th and on, which is today, the day that we're recording this, it's all going to be the new price changes. Existing accounts starting August, existing wholesale accounts starting September. So that's a major price change on QuickBooks Online. I mean, it's $10 more, for Essentials or Plus, but it's $30 more for Advanced. Advanced is still under 10% of the entire QuickBooks Online client base. I don't know what the percentage is, but judging by my own book of clients, it's a very small group. So it's really the Essentials and the Plus customers that are going to see the extra $10 a month. And, they'll be the judge whether or not, it's worth it or not. I suspect that this is not really going to move the needle, and no one really is going to cancel the subscription because of it. But if you're an accountant, if you're a pro advisor, there's major changes happening to the wholesale pricing. Major, major, major. Number one, historically, before today, any new QuickBooks Online accounts you add into wholesale used to have a 50% discount for life. Starting today, any new QuickBooks Online accounts you create via wholesale will have a 30% discount, not a 50% discount. Now, they took some stuff, they added some stuff. So one of the good things that they added is Simple Start is now added to the Pro Advisor preferred pricing, which means the $25 a month Simple Start on their wholesale is going to have a 30% discount. Okay, is it enough to move the needle? Not so much. But now you're gonna have Simple Start, which is the least expensive version of QuickBooks, which is $25 minus 30%. It would be at $17.50. So it would be kind of like when Essentials used to be $35 and it had the 50% discount. So $17.50 is now the lowest QuickBooks Online account you can pay directly in behalf of your client if you set up a Simple Start account under the Pro Advisor preferred pricing. Again, all new accounts for Pro Advisors, if they choose to pay directly, instead of having their clients pay, it would be 30% discount, not 50% discount. QuickBooks is going to commit to all current wholesale accounts that are already on the 50% discount to stay at 50% discount. So any wholesale accounts that existed prior to July 15th will stay at 50% discount. However, if there's a change in subscription, if you go from Plus to Advanced, from Plus to Essentials, whatever, from Essentials to Simple Start, whether you upgrade or downgrade, doesn't matter what the change is, doesn't matter which one you do. If you make a change to it, the 50% will go away and the 30% will kick in. In addition to that, Pro Advisors can choose to give their clients a 30% 12-month discount if they set up their clients for them, but set it up as a client direct bill. And then the Pro Advisor doesn't have to pay for the account. Intuit charges the client directly, and the client gets 30% off for 12 months. So those are the two major changes, the price changes and the wholesale price changes. Is no longer called wholesale. Now it's called the Pro Advisor Preferred Pricing Program. There's a link in the slides if you want to see an article that completely talks about that. That's basically all you really need to know. And in the article will cover a lot of that. Okay? So again, you cannot make any changes to an account from now on. If you make a change, upgrade or downgrade a subscription, I don't know what happens if you add payroll. I'm not sure if adding payroll, I'm not prepared to answer yes or no. If adding payroll or adding payments technically is a subscription change. From what I understand is if there's only a change to the subscription level, Plus, Essentials, Simple Start, Advanced, if that changes, the 50% legacy discount goes away. All right, so let's move on to QBO new and improved features across all versions. Regardless of which version you have, you will see all these things. First thing that I noticed is the new Explore tab. So what happens is when you are in QuickBooks Online Banking there's a little button in the top right that says Explore. And I suspect, and I have not read any official material in this, I have not talked to any of the Intuit people. I don't know if there's a sort of a grander vision to what this is or what this is supposed to be long term. But from immediately what I can see is when you're in banking, it will highlight all the things that are essentially common errors or common misconceptions. So for example, when QuickBooks automatically suggests an account on a transfer or automatically suggests a category, an expense category or an income category, whatever it is, a little tab shows up on the right-hand side and says, hey, we just want to make sure that you understand that whatever you see highlighted in yellow, it's a suggestion. It may not be accurate. It doesn't say it in so many words. It doesn't say that, but it does explain to you why is it doing that. Now, some of the text, in my opinion, is a little bit it's just not clear, and I think it's just sort of an attempt to kind of clarify what it is. I'm live on a QuickBooks Online account that has the Explore beta, and let me show you. So QuickBooks, if you look at this banking transaction, this is a transaction that's coming from checking account 8610. It's very, very clear. It's account 8610. You see it as the accountant, as the QuickBooks user, you see it. However, QuickBooks is suggesting account 5150. Now, it could be because account 8610 is not in my chart of accounts. It could be because I misclassified a transaction earlier. Regardless, QuickBooks is trying to guess what is the right account for this, which is clearly wrong, okay? You can see it, it's obvious to you, especially if these last 4 digits are accurate in the chart of accounts. That's clearly wrong. But if you look at the text here, it says, we suggested this account based on how other businesses categorized a similar transaction. So that verbiage, it's wrong. Now, I understand how this will work with an expense category, but of course, this has nothing to do with how other businesses do it, because account numbers are unique to each of the bank accounts. So I think that they used a sort of generic text for both transfers and expense categories, and it's wrong and it's misleading. And hopefully somebody from Intuit is watching and you get off your butt and fix this problem ASAP. All right, let's talk about an expense categorization. So for example, I'm going to click on this one, and this is a transaction where I'm paying Jedi Corp. Okay, and I'm paying Jedi Corp. What is it? $56.99. This is, for whatever reason, suggesting PayPal fees. Again, this says based on how other businesses have been doing it. Again, I am not 100% sure if this is choosing PayPal fees based on that. I think this is based on something I must have classified earlier as that. Either way, again, I'm telling you my grievances around that because I like the idea, but I don't like the execution. So when you're out there using this, I'm sort of the guy that's kind of anal about all these little details, and I want to bring them out to people just so they don't get confused with what they're doing. So hopefully somebody from Intuit watches this, they fix it, and by the time you're watching this and YouTube is no longer relevant, who knows? Either way, I love this new Explore beta. If I close it, if I click on X, I can scroll up, and right next to update, you're gonna see it's like a little like a nuclear icon type of thing, and it says Explore beta, and you can open that and it opens it back up. Now, the other thing that I like about it, and I'll give kudos to Intuit for this, is they highlighted in yellow the missing customer, vendor and customer. And down here in the suggestions, it says, hey, to track your money in and out with more detail, make sure you add a payee. If you're an accounting professional, you know that your pet peeve and my pet peeve, it is when people don't put a payee in a transaction. So generally, you would put a payee in the transaction. You would just kind of copy and paste that into the vendor section, and you would create the vendor. That's ideally how you would do it, create the vendor from here. Now, the one thing that I don't like is that once the vendor is created, it's still highlighted yellow. Like I would love for this to be like, once I manually went in and changed the vendor name, I would like for this to go away and that suggestion to go away, because it's no longer something I should be looked at, so that I can focus my attention on that account that was categorized automatically. Because again, if you keep it yellow in there, it doesn't feel like there's a sort of a workflow to the suggestions. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on confirm. I'm going to try the same thing with a different transaction. I just want to show you. Okay. So I'm going to take one of these transactions, let's say this one, and I'm going to select the same vendor. I'm going to choose Yeti Corp. And currently, QuickBooks has suggested a different category, legal services or whatever. And that's probably accurate based on that the vendor's name is actually CPA, not Yeti Corp. So that could be accurate or not, but something I really like that they added. And this was kind of like a silent add-on that they added. I haven't seen much text on this. I have discussed this in the past. So this category has existed for at least a couple of months, since April at least. But I've noticed that some QuickBooks files have it and some QuickBooks files don't. So I don't have an explanation behind that. But if you do see this little button that says categorization history, it is really, really cool. What it does is it opens up a drawer on the right-hand side, and then it shows you that in the past, I have used this category or this payee, in lack of a better term. I've used the same payee that I manually selected there for a different expense category. So if I wanted to kind of keep it the way it was originally categorized as legal, I just hit cancel and then click on confirm at that point. However, if I want to change that to PayPal fees, whatever it was in the past, I click on categorization history, click on this little checkbox, and then click on assign category, and then it will recategorize that. Now, one thing that's pretty interesting is after I change a category in this screen, the right-hand side, the suggestion, stays fixed. So this is not dynamic. I'm going to close it and open it again. This is not dynamic. So basically, whatever QuickBooks thought it was at the beginning, the suggestion kind of stays in there, even though I changed the payee name and changed the category, that still kind of changes in there. Again, I don't know what the solution is, but this is kind of where they're going with this, right? They're trying to provide better insights to people that are doing their own books. This is not useful for accountants generally, right? Accountants and pros, they know what they're supposed to do. They don't need this sort of suggestion. It's very obvious that this is for the end customer, and categorizing expenses, adding vendors, adding payees is pretty much what most customers have issues with. All right, so that's that new Explore beta, and I wanted to break down what I thought about that, all the nuances of how it works and how it doesn't work, and probably some of the errors that are there in workflow-wise. But I do think that if they add more AI to this, maybe an automatic payee creation suggestion, that would be pretty awesome. I have not seen a tab or a special place where you can turn on the beta or turn off the beta. It's kind of like, you might have it or you don't. So it's kind of a lottery depending on which, I guess, QuickBooks Online server you're in. So it's in some and not in others. Okay, so if you see it or when you see it, you know exactly how it works. The other sort of silent add-on that they added in the last couple of months is the ability to create a rule to exclude, again, a rule to exclude a transaction. Now, I don't exclude a whole lot of transactions when I download through the banking. You will see in my banking course when I explain that in really detail in terms of how I do the workflow for matching double transactions and stuff like that. But there are situations in which you might want to exclude a particular transaction. For example, I have a client that downloads credit card expenses from a personal credit card, but does not reconcile the credit card, but excludes all the personal expenses. So this credit card account just sits in the balance sheet. It accumulates all the expenses that are business related. He doesn't reconcile the account. He only pays from the business portion of the expenses. So he excludes all the personal stuff. So this is a situation where creating a rule to exclude the local supermarket or the massage parlor or the kids' school or whatever personal expenses the business owner is paying through that one card that they're downloading, they can now create rules just to exclude transactions. So I think that was pretty interesting. But one place where I think could also be an interesting place to exclude is on transfers, okay? Depending on your workflow, you might want to exclude all transfers into one of the accounts and then include them in the other account to prevent that duplication of transfers. That's one of the most common errors that sort of the layman QuickBooks user gets when there's transfers across accounts or payments from an account to a credit card that they don't classify them correctly and they end up doubling up those transfers or doubling up those payments. So that might be another interesting place where maybe you go into your credit card and exclude all the payments inside the credit card itself. They usually say online payment, thank you, or something like that, right? So maybe you can exclude all those and then only depend on the actual bank transfers to the credit card to be that one transaction to avoid doubling up transactions. So again, if you're a beginner user of QuickBooks Online, this stuff sounds like Greek to you, I understand. But if you're an experienced user, you understand the nuances of transfers. And this is where this exclude rule could be really helpful. And this is where I see the value of it, okay? The other thing that I saw that was kind of interesting, I don't have any clients that have paid me through Apple Pay yet, but they are now accepting Apple Pay through payments. So on top of accepting ACH and Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, they have now added Apple Pay. So that means that if a customer receives an invoice via email, and then when they go pay, they click Apple Pay, they could use their Apple account to pay your invoice. And the Apple account is already linked through their credit card, through their iPhone, and that sort of thing. So this is going to add a lot of convenience to customers that use iPhones or Apple users that want to, don't want to like take out the credit card from their wallet, type it in to pay. They can just log in through their Apple account and pay directly. That's pretty interesting, very intuitive. Kudos to Intuit for doing that. I don't know what the financial arrangement is. I don't know what they charge for it. I assume the fees are similar. But unfortunately, I don't know what the fee structure is for Apple Pay. So once I know, I will let people know. Now, the other thing that was, again, another kind of one of those silent add-ons and improvements, if you turn on auto payroll. So this is for people using QuickBooks Online Payroll that want to automate some of their payroll. And this is good for salaried employees. So maybe you have a salaried employee that gets paid every week or every 2 weeks or every 15th to the 30th of every month. And you don't want to sit there and create payroll every time and click send and click pay and click pay taxes. You can automate payroll for these employees that get paid the same amount every month or every quarter or whatever. And you could choose which employees get automatically set up with payroll, with auto payroll. So the ones for auto payroll will automatically create the paychecks and run the payroll for you. Again, not very useful for hourly employees because you got timesheets that need to be approved and all that stuff. But for salaried employees, I think this is a fantastic feature. And you can pick which ones go into that. So maybe you can automate all your salaried employees and then manually process the hourly employees. Now, the other feature that they've been threatening to have available since May is in the QuickBooks Online dashboard. In the QuickBooks Online dashboard, they're going to add a new tab called Payroll, which is going to give you payroll insights across all of your clients. So, automatic payroll, upcoming payroll, payroll due dates, tax payments due dates, tax filings due dates, all that stuff is going to now show in the dashboard. So for people that manage multiple payroll clients, this is going to be really, really useful. Now, I'll make a quick pause to that. I'm going to go back for a second into discussing the new QBO preferred pricing program. So if a pro advisor or an accountant with a pro advisor account, with a QuickBooks Online accountant account, has a wholesale client that which they're going to pay 30% off for any new account created moving forward. If they add payroll to it, that 30% discount extends to the payroll subscription as well. They will only get a 15% discount in the per employee price, because remember, with QuickBooks Online Payroll, you pay a monthly fixed fee, and then you pay additionally per employee. So you're gonna have 30% on the payroll subscription, and then 15% on the additional per employee cost. So that's only for kind of accountants, pro advisors that are going to have their payroll. They're going to pay for the payroll subscription in behind of their client, in behalf of their clients, because their clients are essentially outsourcing them to do that payroll. So for those clients, this dashboard is going to be awesome. It's not available in my QBO accountant file. I haven't heard of anyone that has it. This is a screenshot from May where they said this is coming soon, and it's July 15th. I think soon means quicker than 2 months. So into it. Get, if you're going to promise something, deliver it or don't tell us, because you get us all riled up for no reason, right? But coming soon, you're going to see the payroll tab, and it should be awesome. It should be great. Okay, let's move on to QuickBooks Online Advanced, QuickBooks Online only features. So there's really only two things, really. There's only really two things. One is if you create tasks, where you maybe create a task inside QuickBooks Online account and you assign it to one of the internal QuickBooks Online users. And tasks are just like, a date and a user and a title and notes, right? So if you want to say, hey, make sure to pay your bills weekly or whatever, and you want the QuickBooks Online user to log in and get a reminder that a task is due, maybe a weekly reminder of some sort, you can create recurring tasks. So if you want to set up a specific QuickBooks Online user to get a reminder of a task due, let's say pay the bills weekly, run payroll bi-weekly, reconcile the credit card account monthly or whatever. If you want to create these tasks inside QuickBooks Online so the internal users can be notified, you can now make recurring tasks. Okay, so that feature should have existed a long time ago. That's there. I personally don't use tasks and workflow too much in QuickBooks Online Advanced, but for the ones that do, I'm sure you will love having that recurring feature. Now, QuickBooks Online Custom Report Builder. I'm going to go into YouTube real quick, and I just want to show you, because I did a pretty QuickBooks Online Custom Report Builder, and I'm going to copy and paste the link to this video. It's a 22-minute video that I did, and I might have gone over more detail on this one video that I did that I'm going to do versus this webinar, because this webinar is more focused on updates, and I'm also going to copy and paste that in the Zoom link. So my previous video, I kind of covered the core functionality of Custom Report Builder. I explained some of the whys behind the logic of why they do one thing or the other. But I'm happy to announce that I have been personally in direct contact with one of the product managers for this product, or the product. I'm not sure if it's the or one of them. And I've been giving them direct feedback in the last couple of months. And they have been responding specifically with the feedback that I have been giving them. So that's also really awesome, because Custom Report Builder, it's getting better. And I feel proud that I have my personal touch in some of those improvements. It's not there yet. I'll have a slide at the end where I'll kind of talk about some of the deficiencies and shortfalls, just for you to be aware of it. But it is getting there, and it's really, really cool. And it's starting to feel kind of like a pivot table. So that's pretty nice as well. So this Custom Report Builder, they added the cash accrual toggle, which is really, really cool. So now you can run the reports in cash or accrual on demand. They also added an export to Excel feature. Again, those little things that you would think that would just be there, right? But the export to Excel feature is great. It exports a nicely formatted Excel file that contains all the transactions that are visible in the custom report that you created, right? So whatever report you create through the system, and we're going to demo that in a second, whatever report you create through the system, now you can export it into Excel. Now, it's not a dynamic export, where it will update automatically. That's why it puts a sort of a date stamp in the export. But the nice thing about exporting to Excel is that maybe you can do more with pivot tables, stuff that maybe QuickBooks Online is not designed to do. Now, let me show you a couple things that were added, a couple more things that were added. Number one, you can now change the order of the columns. So as you add new columns into the custom report, there's a layout tab inside of the custom reporting little tab. So a tab within the tab. So inside the customized reports tab on the right hand side, there's a columns and a layout tab. If you go into the layout tab, you can actually drag and drop those columns and you can change the order for it. Prior to this update, They would show up in the order that you added them, but you couldn't change the order. So they added that. That was great. That's direct feedback I gave them. Other feedback I gave them, which I'm very, very, again, if you're watching Intuit person, I don't want to name you because I don't want you to get bombarded with emails. If you're watching this video, I appreciate all the changes you did to this. They added now a ledger amount instead of just a flat amount. So the difference between ledger amount and the regular amount is the regular amount is always a positive number. So there was no ability for you to know whether the number was a debit or a credit, like in terms of your general ledger. So by adding this ledger amount option, you can now see it in context of positive and negative, and then you'll know if you're looking at a credit or a debit. Now, for the average user, that's just confusing. Positives and negatives, I get confused, but accountants understand contextually that negatives are credits and positives are debits. So now this is a sort of a workaround to understand whether this is the debit side of the transaction or the credit side of the transaction. For example, in the screenshot you're looking at, we're looking at invoices. The 3,354 you see right there on the screen, that's the total invoice amount. That's the part that hits accounts receivable. That's a debit, that's a positive number. All the income lines in that invoice, the individual distribution line items, are negative because they're credits. The other thing that I requested that they added is they add two fields. One for account, and account was already there, but one for split, because depending on the type of report, sometimes you want to see the source account, sometimes you want to see the split account. So it's nice that you have now both fields in there. You can enable account or split. So you can, depending on what side of the equation you're looking at or what side of the equation you're filtering, you'll be able to use that. And we'll talk about filtering when we do a quick demo of the custom report builder as well. A couple of things that they added to it, just for whatever reason it wasn't released in the original one, is sales receipt and sales receipt line items, and then purchase order and purchase order line items. So those two transactions have been added, so you can create custom reports for those transactions. Now, I'm going to do a quick demo of it before we end the webinar. Probably spend maybe 10 minutes doing a quick demo, and I'll answer any questions we have on that. They do plan to do another release in a month or two of more updates to this. And when that happens, I'll do a formal YouTube video, kind of like showcasing the product, because I think the product's about 70% there. Still needs a good 30% of more updates for it to work really well. But I'm going to tell you the current limitations as of today. The biggest one, and probably my biggest issue with it, is that this is not a real-time reporting system. This is a delayed database sync. So for whatever reason, the mechanism of Custom Report Builder is in the back end, QuickBooks is sort of building a duplicate of your real database and is using that duplicate to do the reports. Now, unfortunately, it tells you when it was last updated, but there's no push button to push an update. So if you just create an invoice now and try to do a report to see what it looks like, you won't be able to do that, which is horrible for people like me that are doing tests. Like, I want to test the system, so I have to create a couple transactions and then wait a couple hours for this thing to sync to then run the report to see what it looks like. So I would hope that they add a push button or that they make this a real-time system, because look, in 2021, it's not acceptable that we have a non-real-time reporting system built into our QuickBooks Online. Okay. Second one is there's no separate field for customer project or customer sub-project for expense type of transaction. So if I create a report that shows bills and I want to see the customer name, I cannot see the full path of the customer name. So I only get to see either the project name or the sub-customer name. I don't get the full path. So customer name, column project, customer name, column sub-customer. For whatever reason, they haven't added that. That's valuable and relevant. Sometimes I actually wish that they added a separate column for customer, a separate for sub-customer, and a separate one for project. That way we can pick and choose what data we want to see. But for the time being, we're sort of stuck. If you want to see the client info on an expense transaction, you're only going to see the project name by itself without the customer's name or the sub-customer's name in it, okay? The other one is there's no debit and credit column. I would love to see this in a debit and credit format. Again, if you've never seen this before, this is still Greek to you. It will make more sense when we demo it real quick. This is more for the advanced users that have already started playing with this. or saw the YouTube video I posted a couple months ago, there's no debit and credit columns. So the only workaround is this ledger amount that shows negative and positive. That's the closest we get to it. I would like to see debit and credit just because in QuickBooks Desktop, I can do that with reports. There's no custom date filterings. For some reason, we're stuck with their predetermined dates that they have in there. So stuck with the predetermined dates. But they're probably going to add custom date filtering pretty soon. There's no profit line. I wish there was a line for gross profit for inventory products, something that would calculate sales and COGS, because this would be really useful for commission calculation. So I could create a custom report for a specific rep that shows me the gross profit of an inventory sale. That would be extremely useful. I hope and I wish that they add a profit field that will do the calculation of sales minus COGS for inventory items. And that was only relevant for inventory items. And of course, there's no true custom summary report the way we have in desktop, where we can have rows and columns customized. You can sort of kind of build it a little bit by collapsing the fields, and I'll discuss that in a second. But there's no true custom summary report the way we have in desktop. So yet, because of these issues and possibly many more I have not discovered, this is not yet a good replacement for the power of a QuickBooks desktop type of reporting system. But it is getting there. So kudos to the development team for working really hard at getting better at this. So let me jump to QuickBooks Online then. Where's my QuickBooks Online screen? And if any questions come up, I'll go ahead and start answering them. So I'm going to open up my sample file I have here, and we'll kind of play with the custom reporting tool to kind of show you what is it that it can do. So you're going to go to access the custom reporting tool. Let me maximize that. So to access the custom reporting tool, we're going to click on reports and then reports. And then you're going to see down here, custom report builder. You're going to see three buttons, one that says invoice report, one that says expense report, and one that says create new report. They all do the same thing. The difference is that the invoice report and the expense report are sort of mini templates. So it kind of starts the process for you. If you are not really good at creating reports from scratch, I'll do them from scratch for that. I have a question here in the chat that says, can you explain about this not being a real-time database? So yes, I'll explain that. So if you look in the dashboard, okay, you're going to see the dashboard itself has reports, and you can do graphical reports. Okay, you notice if you look in the dashboard, you notice that here it says data updated 3 hours ago. I don't know if you can see that. Data updated 3 hours ago. That's because the database that is used to build reports in the dashboard, the graph reports, and to build the report builder, it's again some sort of alternate database that's sort of happening behind the scenes that is being updated every couple of hours. In this case, the last 3 hours. So that's going to be true for creating, for the dashboard, for creating graphs. So if you do in the performance center, if you create reports through here as well, if you create any of these reports, these are also delayed by the 3 hours. You don't see the note here, but the stuff that shows up in here is also delayed. So the graphical reporting system, like the new charts in the reporting center, the dashboard, and custom report builder is currently not a real-time database. So let's go back to the custom report builder and then see if we do get a little bit of that note in there. So I'm going to go to create new. And again, the custom report builder is only available for advanced. Okay. So I started the report from scratch. Okay. And I'm going to do a report with invoice information. Okay. So sales or invoice information. So I'm going to go to invoices here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to start with the columns I want to show first. So let's see, I want to see invoice date first, kind of the first field I want to see. Then I want to see my customer name. Okay, so there's my invoice date, my customer name. And then I want to see details. So if I want to see details at this point, I no longer want to see anything under the invoice tab. I want to open invoice line items. Those are details. I want to open up line number. right? Because depending on how many lines an invoice has, this will order them for you and let you know what line in the invoice it is. So basically the order in which they're set up. Then I'm going to go down and look for my product and service. So then I can see the exact product and service that's being sold in every one of the invoices, okay? Then I'm going to go to ledger amount. That's the one that I like. So ledger amount, I'm going to close that. It will show you in positive the amount that's hitting accounts receivable, and in negative the amounts that are hitting your income. Now I'm going to click on customize again, and I'm going to bring in the accounts. So I'm going to bring in the account line and the split line so you can see it a little bit more clearly. We no longer need to see the line order. That already made the point there. We can collapse there and we can see it. So if we see, for example, I'm going to go down to this invoice here. Okay, actually, let me bring in invoice number as well. So let's bring in the invoice tab, let's bring in invoice number. And now that invoice number is all the way to the right, it's a really awkward place for it to be. I'm going to change the order of that. I'm going to click on customize. I'm going to scroll up, click on layout, and then bring in the invoice number, drag it all the way to the top to be the first one. So now I'm going to scroll to the right here. I'm going to maximize the screen. You see we get invoice number, we get invoice date, we get customer name, and look, and I can resize these columns, which is great. So that was a great update. Resizing the columns, it seems like a something small, but it's extremely valuable. And I can adjust these. We got the ledger amount, we got the amount line, and we got the split line. So that gives you a really good understanding pretty much on what is it that you're looking at, right? So if you go down here to one that has this has 2 lines. Let's see, this one, invoice 1014, has about 6 lines. Notice that we have the invoice amount, which is 963. Okay, that hits accounts receivable, correct? Then we have the sales part. This is sales. This is the income part, which is a credit, right? This is hitting sales or product income. Then we get to see the sales tax, which is a credit. It's a liability, right? And this goes into whatever that account called Florida Department of Revenue liability account. Let me expand that a little bit. That is a liability account for sure. I don't know why I can't. Let me expand this. Okay, it's a liability account called Florida Department of Revenue payable. Then we have the amount that reduces my inventory, and then we have our cost of goods sold. What I meant earlier by not having a profit line, it would be nice that you could see, you know, the 900 minus the 70, so the 870 gross profit in a single line. That would be beautiful, because then I don't have to make all these crazy additional calculations to figure out sort of profit per invoice. But that still could be done. It's not impossible. So if I go to filter, and I'm going to go into, I'm going to filter, in this case, filter my account line. I can then say, look, this account should be my income accounts. So this is my sales of product income account. And I should also include my cost of goods sold. So I'm going to do both, cost of goods sold. And then, of course, unfortunately, in this screen, I can't pick like a category, like all income and cost of goods sold, kind of the way QuickBooks Desktop does it. I have to manually go in there and pick the accounts I want to see. But if I want to know the profit for this invoice, okay, I have it right here. It's very clear here. I have it right here, right? So that kind of gives you a general idea. Now, when I do my grouping, notice that I can group by virtually any of these categories here. I can't do it by invoice number from some strange reason. I don't know why, or somebody at Intuit said, yeah, we don't need to group by invoice number. I would absolutely love to be able to group by invoice number, because that way I can get the mathematical calculation of the 870 net for profit. But I can do it by customer name. It's kind of the closest thing we have to it. So I'll do customer name here. And then let me see, I'm going to have to bring in. So once I do that, I can group them. And then once I group them, I can then, if I export this to Excel, I can do the calculation. But again, it's not perfect, because right now, if I collapse these, QuickBooks is not programmed to calculate the ledger amount or to summarize the ledger amounts in it. Now, Let me see if it allows me to do it. If I manually put ledger amount, I think that will work. Let's do total here. Okay, yeah. So it doesn't do it by default, but you can manually do it by going into edit group calculations and adding ledger amount and total. So essentially that will give me per customer my gross profit. Okay. So that gives you a general idea of all the things you can do with this report. I mean, there's a lot more examples that we could go over. Again, watch my video I posted in YouTube where I kind of explain all that. But for now, I'd like to see if I can maybe answer some of the questions from the people watching live via Zoom. Let me see what I could answer. Okay, so first question is there graphing available in the report builder? The answer is no. No graphing available in the report building. How on the custom report builder? The only graphs available are going to be through the Performance Center or through the custom graphs. However, if you export this to Excel, again, I'll show you what this looks like. It shouldn't be extremely difficult to generate a graph from here if you need to, right? So if you need to form a graph from here, shouldn't be terribly difficult. Of course, this is not going to make a really good graph, but if you were to do a graph in let's see, I forgot how you do graphs. I mean, you've done graphs in such a long time. Here's the chart. Okay, so if you do graphs in Excel, you should be able to do it fairly quickly post an Excel update. Now that graph, that was a good example. That probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but yeah. So that's kind of a way I can answer that question. So it's not a hard no. You're stuck not being able to do any graphs, but that does have to happen in Excel. The second question is, how come I don't see custom report builder in my QuickBooks? So again, we're going to click on reports on the left hand side, and then we're going to go down to where it says custom report builder, and you can click on create new report, invoice report, or expense report. Here, create new report. If I click on that, you will notice the URL up top here. So if for whatever reason you don't see the link, you can copy and paste that URL into your QuickBooks, and you should be able to get right to it. Okay, so now one of the things that is really important is this is only available in QuickBooks Online Advanced. So it's not going to work on QuickBooks Online Plus or Essentials or Simple Start. So stop trying to do it. It won't work. It's only available in the Advanced feature. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Can you add purchase orders to the dashboard? I'm not sure what you mean to the dashboard, Karen, but in the custom reports, yes. So if I do a custom report and I click on create new report, and then I will go to purchase order, and then I click on purchase order date, purchase order number, amount, and maybe vendor's name. Yes, you can add purchase orders into it. Okay. Now, you should have custom report builders as an accountant or pro advisor, because your account gets converted to an advanced account. I have seen a couple of problems with custom report builder. One, several of my colleagues and even my own QuickBooks Online accountant account doesn't show it yet. So this is something that Intuit needs to work on the back end and fix it. And the other issue that I've found is if you have a free trial, it doesn't show up. So it needs to be a paid subscription of QuickBooks Online Advanced. I hope that they fix that at some point, because it would be nice to have it on a trial so we can play with it. And it would be nice to have it in our accountant account so we can play with it as well. So those are the two kind of issues I see now. One, I don't see it available in the accountant side for accountants. On the client side, yes, but on your own firm account, no. And on free trials, they're not available either. So hopefully by the time I post this recording into YouTube, or you watch the recording in any other way, that they have fixed that at that point. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Okay, so Floyd says, what if I have my own custom chart of accounts that I posted into QuickBooks Online? So this, I'm going to go back. This is going to go back to this explore thing. So what if you're not using the built-in a chart of accounts that QuickBooks Online has? What if you're using a custom chart of accounts? I don't know. I don't know yet. And I think what's going to end up happening is QuickBooks might end up really suggesting things based on the account type. And if it's based on the account type, it's going to be based 100% on that. But I have a feeling that if you're bringing your own chart of accounts and not using a custom chart of accounts, the suggestions are not going to be as good. So that's just the reality. I don't know how that's going to play with, if you create your own custom chart of accounts or bring in your own custom chart of accounts, or for the people that purchase my own custom, because I sell a chart of accounts that I sell. Many people buy my own custom chart of accounts. They import it. How are the banking suggestions going to work? I don't think they're going to work flawlessly because, not enough people use my chart of accounts or any custom chart of accounts to be able to have that in there. Okay. So if you see an error that says we can't fetch your data right now, I'm going to give you an example. I think I have that with another one of your other files. So I'm going to go to QuickBooks Online. This is a free trial that I have. Okay. It's a free trial that I have. And when I go into reports, my custom report builder is not there. I try to paste in the link, right? Because it has, all the QuickBooks Online modules have a direct link. It gives me this error that says it can't fetch your data right now. So if you have a free trial account and you try to go through the link, you're going to get this error. If you have a QuickBooks Online accountant account, I think you're still going to get this error because they have not fixed for those two groups of customers, the free trials and the accountants. They haven't added that yet. That's what I think it is. I don't know what the solution is. I let people know I didn't do it, and I hope that somebody makes a change about it, but I don't control these things. All right, let's see. What are the questions we have? That might be the last of the questions. A few people are saying, yeah, it would be nice to have it so we can play with it and learn it before our clients dive into it. I agree 100%. I have not been a louder voice about that for a very long time. Do you need any special permissions to access this? Honestly, good question. I think that obviously admin will have access to the custom report builder. And as long as you have access to reports, you should have access to it. But I don't know if restricted users, when you create a restricted user, so I don't have the answer. I am going to frame it so you understand what this question is asking. So when you create a role, for example, I'm going to create a role here. I don't know if you create a role that only has sales and expenses, for example, and no banking, no inventory, no workers, or no reports. I don't know if that limited role will have access to it. I have not tested it yet. It'll be something interesting to test, whether or not a custom role or if this if just this reports role works. So I have a feeling for now you kind of have to be a full user, but I don't have that question. Okay. All right. Let's see. What other questions do we have? I don't see. Okay, Karen's changing her question. I guess my question should have been not in advance, but can you customize the dashboard on the left? No, this dashboard, just the dashboard. This screen here, this is not customizable. So it doesn't matter what version of QuickBooks you have. Only thing you can change in the dashboard is the dates, okay, or turn off the privacy mode or not. But there's no customization to this screen. If you have advanced and you go to reports and performance center, this one is customizable, but that's only for advanced users. Okay, I think that's it. I think we went through all the questions, and there's my email address. If something wasn't covered or whatever, or if you learned anything else regarding the topics that we covered, go ahead and shoot me an email. We'd love to hear from you, and I will see you. If you sign up for any of my courses, I'll see you on the next course. If not, I'll see you in the October update in a quarter. Have a great rest of the summer, everyone, and I hope you survive the end of the 2021 tax season. Thanks.